We are watching Hurricane Melissa as she becomes a powerful Category 5 hurricane with winds now at 160 miles per hour, continuing to move off to the south of Jamaica before making that turn and impacting the island nation on Tuesday. We have the latest information as of 5 a.m. this morning. Let's bring it to you right now. As we see Melissa here on our satellite imagery, over the last 12 to 24 hours, Melissa has maintained that strong symmetrical look with that clear eye wall that is continuing to move off to the west at about 3 miles an hour. That eye wall is very warm at its core with temperatures around 70 degrees, and those cloud tops, those tops of those storms are very cold, which tells us that this is a well-defined and well-structured hurricane as it continues to churn in the warm, high heat content waters of the Caribbean. It will continue to move towards the west. It will continue to intensify during the day on Monday with winds that could top 175 miles per hour. Here on our map, we do see it's now to the south-southwest of Kingston, about 100 miles offshore, so it is bringing wind and rain to Jamaica as we begin our Monday morning, as well across parts of southwestern Haiti into Cuba as well, as that storm has really expanded in its size and breadth over the last 24 hours. Here on our infrared imagery, we see those cold cloud tops here with those darker colors, and we see that clear eye. There was a little bit of a moat forming around the eye wall yesterday, and so we thought we might be seeing an eye wall replacement cycle, but that moat quickly dissipated and that eye wall tightened up, a sign that this storm is strong, it's healthy, and it will only intensify as we went from Sunday afternoon winds of 140 miles per hour now up to 160 miles per hour, and we could see even stronger intensification with this storm during our day. The National Hurricane Center now has, again, those winds at 160 miles per hour. Movement is to the west at 3 miles per hour as of the 5 a.m. advisory. It is expected to continue to be a major hurricane as it impacts the southern coast of Jamaica early on our Tuesday morning. Still a major hurricane as it exits the northern coast Tuesday afternoon and then impacts southeast Cuba early on our Wednesday morning. Still maintaining its hurricane strength, we've now seen hurricane watches issued throughout the Bahamas, the Turks and Caicos, and as it makes its way toward Bermuda late in the week, we do expect it to be still a strong hurricane, but it will rapidly accelerate away from the United States thanks to a trough that will be moving through the southeast today and then another one later in the week. It will race off into the North Atlantic. Our intensity map here is very consistent. I will tell you that Melissa has maintained intensity toward the top of the ranges throughout her life cycle over the last 24 to 36 hours. So we would expect a Category 5 storm to continue through Tuesday morning, which, if that is the case, that will pose devastating impacts to the island of Jamaica. Right now, winds are at 160 miles per hour. Maintaining that or even slightly increasing them to 165 or 170 miles per hour as the storm makes landfall early Tuesday morning is going to produce high storm surge of several feet along the southern coast of Jamaica. We're going to have those strong winds. As we get into those mountainous areas, those winds are going to tunnel. They're going to funnel together, which is only going to make them feel stronger. And we could have isolated gusts of well over 170 to 180 miles per hour as it hits landfall. This is unprecedented. This is historic. This is catastrophic. I cannot reiterate now. If you are in your safe shelter, please stay there. Please do not try to venture out as we get into Monday afternoon or later. It is simply not worth it. You're basically putting your own life at risk as we expect the intensity. Even if it does dip from a Category 5, it will be a strong Category 4 without any doubt. So let's look at the HAFS-A model. This has it, and this is initializing very well with the current pressure from the latest recon missions of the hurricane hunters at about 922 millibars. It will continue in that western pattern during our day Monday, but as we get toward the evening, it's going to start to make that turn towards the northwest and west, and look, it's deepening still, 919, 916. As it approaches early Tuesday morning, about 915 to 920 millibar low, the storm is expected to hit anywhere between 5 a.m. and 9 a.m. It will then impact southeast Cuba Tuesday night into early Wednesday morning, and then it will continue on its northeasterly track through the Bahamas during our day on our Wednesday. Looking here at the H-WRF model, not as intense initialization, so this one is underplaying Melissa's strength, and it is taking the storm a little bit further to the west, but it does deepen the low. It does deepen the storm by about 15 to 20 millibars, similar to the HAFS-A. It just has a different starting point, and it takes it a slightly different track, impacting the far western end of Jamaica as a 925 millibar low with winds of about 145 to 150 miles per hour. So going back to that HAFS-A model, here's our wind speeds in the upper right and our barometric pressure. We see this storm continuing to move to the west, deepening winds about 155, 157 miles per hour as we move towards Monday night. Winds increasing, 160 are likely. And look, as we get right before storm, 170, nearly 175 miles per hour winds are possible with a 915 millibar low as this storm approaches. And as it hits southeast Cuba Tuesday night, winds are still at 90 knots. That's 105 to 110 miles per hour. This is a dangerous, powerful storm. Even as it moves through the Bahamas, it will re-strengthen in those warm waters of the southwest Atlantic and could be still a Category 2 or Category 3 hurricane as it impacts the Bahamas. In terms of our rainfall, this is another big story that we are watching. Here is Jamaica, here's southwest Haiti and Cuba. We expect the heaviest of the rainfall to fall across western Jamaica, and really the entire island for that matter is going to see anywhere from 20 to 30 inches of rain, isolated areas up to 40 inches of rain, and that heavy rainfall is going to fall across southeast Cuba where we could see nearly 20 to 30 inches of rain as well. Even up towards the Bahamas, you could be in the path of heavy rainfall. Across southwestern Haiti and the Dominican, your rainfall amounts are going to be less, but you've seen significant rainfall over the last several days. So any additional rainfall is only going to add to the landslides, the flooding, and the devastation that has impacted your nation over the last 48 to 72 hours. But this is going to be extreme situation for the island of Jamaica. And so here's another model that I want to look at here as well. This takes us right before the storm hits. This is the H-Wharf model, again, which has it a little bit to the west. But anywhere from Negril through Lioneltown, Milk River, we expect landfall to happen somewhere here. And again, as we get that counterclockwise rotation with this storm, that's going to send a lot of water up into these communities, into these bays. A lot of beach resorts along the southwestern shore here. A lot of communities and homes as well. That's going to send storm surge of several feet inland. And so there's going to be mass destruction, mass devastation. Communities are going to be wiped out. Power infrastructure is going to be eliminated. Communication towers, everything could be destroyed with this storm. So please, if you are in your safe shelter, please stay there. Do not try to venture out on our Monday afternoon into Monday evening. Conditions are only expected to get worse. Now, we could see some wobbling. As this storm continues to move, we could see some wobbling in its intensification. Winds could drop to 140, 145 miles per hour, but that's not a sign that the storm is weakening or is not going to be as intense as we once thought. It is simply a sign that this is a normal fluctuation. We would expect to maybe see an eyewall replacement cycle happen sometime during the day on Monday. Not a guarantee, but if that happens, that's going to temporarily lower the wind speeds, raise the barometric pressure as that eyewall reforms. So if that happens as it's approaching Jamaica, that's going to play a factor in how strong of a storm will impact us on our Tuesday morning. So pay attention to your local media, pay attention to us here at the Weather Farm. We will bring you the latest information with each successive update from the National Hurricane Center to keep you informed on any change in track, any change in intensity, and the steps that you need to take now if you've not made those preparations yet. Jumping back to the United States, we're going to watch showers and storms moving through the southeast for our Monday, making their way over towards Knoxville, Tennessee, through Atlanta, Georgia, and off the coast of Savannah early Monday morning. Out across the Dakotas, we're watching rain showers dive to the south and east in association with that low pressure centered over far northern Saskatchewan that's bringing snow across British Columbia and central Alberta, and those snows will pile up to the tune of about 10 to 15 centimeters of snow out across the northern Rockies, snows in those higher elevations. But thankfully, we are getting a break from that atmospheric rivers that have been plaguing the Pacific Northwest over the last 4 to 6 days. And as we go to our Tuesday, we're watching those showers continue to move through Minnesota, down through Kansas, into Oklahoma, as an area of low pressure ejects out of the Rockies. About this time last week, we were thinking this could provide a strong setup for severe weather in this week. That's not going to be the case. This low will continue to move to the east, but it's going to get stalled, and it's going to sit and spin, and it's going to pump a lot of moisture up from the Gulf into the Ohio and Tennessee valleys. That low pressure system is going to move offshore on our Tuesday. That's going to help continue to push Melissa out to sea and away from the United States. We continue to watch scattered snow showers across the Canadian provinces. In terms of our severe weather, we're really not expecting much for our Monday. Isolated thunderstorm risks are possible across the southeast. The main concern here is going to be heavy rainfall, but we can't rule out an isolated gusty thunderstorm or two across the southeast. So let's put everything into motion. There go those storms off to the southeast on our Monday. Snows fly across the Canadian provinces. Rain out ahead of it as we get a little bit of warmer flow from the southwest. And then that low pressure continues to sit and spin here through Tuesday, Wednesday, bringing heavy rains for the Ohio and Tennessee valleys. Pacific Northwest, you're drying out with only those snow showers in those higher elevations. In terms of our temperatures for our Monday, temperatures are going to be cooler where we have that cloud cover and that rainfall. Temperatures here in the 50s for most areas, 60s where we're seeing a little bit more sunshine. Cool in the northeast with highs in the 40s. The real warmth of 70s and 80s are across the Gulf Coast, down through Texas and out in the desert southwest. Out in the Rockies, though, your high temperatures are in your 30s. Much of the same for our Tuesday. We will see a little bit of cooler air trying to sink south into the central plains. That's associated with that low pressure system that's ejecting out of the Rockies, bringing more showers to the central plains area. And by the time we get to Wednesday, it is pretty seasonal from coast to coast. The real warmth, even the 80s, are now being pushed down into far southern Texas. So as we go into midweek, we're going to watch that low continue to sit and spin here in eastern Kentucky before eventually moving up into Ontario and Quebec, and it's going to pull down some cooler weather. As we get toward Halloween, we're going to watch an atmospheric river aim for British Columbia, not so much impacting Washington State initially, but as we go through the weekend, it will be rainy and wet for Washington State and Oregon State. We'll watch an area of low pressure also move across the Gulf states over the weekend. That's going to provide some heavy rainfall. But we see that here at the end of that frame, we start to see that low pressure diving out of Manitoba into the Great Lakes as we get to Saturday into Sunday next weekend. That's the sign of the first of several signs coming up that we could see some cooler weather making its way into the eastern half of the United States as we begin the month of November. And that's going to be the pattern as we begin the month of November. Cool in the east, warm in the west, and we're going to see those systems ride up and over that ridge in the west, dive across the central plain into the eastern half of the United States. So we're going to continue to watch that stormy pattern, at least for the first week of November. In terms of our rainfall, we're going to see heaviest amounts of rain across the North Dakota, where we can see 1 to 2 inches of rain. Also down through Minnesota, through the Ohio and Tennessee valleys. Here across Kentucky and Tennessee, even into northern Georgia, you could see some of the heaviest amounts of rainfall during this week with 2 to 4 inches of rain likely. And that heavy rain, as that low moves up into Ontario, it's going to continue to pull moisture off the Atlantic, bringing heavy rains of 1 to 2 inches into the northeast, Pennsylvania, New York State, up towards Boston. Out across the Pacific Northwest, heaviest rains in British Columbia, but Washington by the end of the week, that's when you're going to start getting back in on that rainfall where you could see a couple of inches of rain by your Saturday. And taking a look at our weekend highs, it's going to be a seasonal feel for most of the country with 40s to the north, 50s across the central, 60s, 70s, and even some 80s along the south. And as we go into our Sunday, remember time change this weekend, so temperatures are going to be slightly cooler here across the northern tier where we expect that next system to dive in, bringing that chance of snow as we get to next Monday. But it's going to be pretty seasonal for most of the country. Well, we thank you for joining us here at the Weather Farm for your Monday. Again, if you are impacted in the way of Hurricane Melissa, please let us know what conditions are like in your area. Drop those down in the comments section. Please stay safe. Stay in your safe shelter. We hope to see you again real soon. Have a great day.